How you doing? My name is Brandon Mason. I'm the president of ABC Prep, ABC Basketball, and we are talking grammar, episode 68.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Jeff Grammer with the Albuquerque Journal, and this is the Talking Grammar podcast, episode 68 now with Brandon Mason. We're going to get a little bit more into his background. I'll bet a lot of you watching right now already know who Brandon is. Brandon is a walking Rolodex and knows everybody everywhere. So we'll get into a little bit more about Brandon Mason, who has played, coached in New Mexico at different places and is now running ABC Prep. So we'll get into a little bit more of that in just a minute in our conversation on this episode. I do really quick want to mention a new digital subscription program that the Journal has. And for an annual fee, you can get all content on the abqjournal.com digital network for one low price, and I will give you, there are some ticket giveaways too for some Lobo basketball ticket giveaways. Details on that at the end of the show. And for now, I hope you're enjoying not only this podcast, but all the podcasts that are part of the Albuquerque Journal Podcast Network. And for now, here's our conversation with Brandon Mason. All right, we're here with Brandon Mason. Brandon, welcome to our studio, man.
Man, thanks for having me, Jeff. Appreciate you, brother.
I know you've done this podcast before. This is getting big time though now. This isn't like before where we'd find some quiet room at the pit or something and record. This is we got cups now. We got a whole studio going here.
This is definitely high major, as I would like to say.
High major. There we go. This is not mid major. Appreciate you for coming on, man. You and I have known each other for a long time. You and I have kind of not just kind of crossed paths through the years, but we started, so everybody knows, full disclosure, we met in college. We were two Aggies, and we were at New Mexico State at the same time, and you let's kind of start there. What I'm going to do with this show is I'm going to do some background. A lot of people around town obviously know you. You're walking Rolodex. You know everybody, but I want to give listeners and viewers a little bit of a background on you, and then we're going to talk about what you're doing now with ABC Prep specifically. But let's start, man. You're from Chicago. What got you to New Mexico?
Well, definitely from the south side of Chicago. Thomas Trotter, Lou Henson, Russ Bradford. They have a huge Chicago connection. Went on a visit to New Mexico State. We had about, I would like to say, 8 guys or so already there from Chicago. Guys like Billy Keys, Eric Channing, Zach Norvell, et cetera. I went on that visit, felt like home, had a lot of good relationships and knew that was probably going to be the place for me. And, you know, Lou Henson being as legendary as he is, he can talk anybody into anything.
That's right.
So kind of fell in love with the Las Cruces, and that was history.
What was it like playing for Lou Henson? I know coaching is something you got into, so I'm curious, when you're playing, did you already kind of envision playing for Lou Henson as what can I take from him when I want to be a coach, or when you were playing, you were just about playing?
No, at the time it was just about playing, but it's something when you're playing for a legendary coach. They demand a certain respect. They have something that you just, when they say something, you listen, right? And so Lou is like one of those guys, like Lou walks around and he has like this glow about him, right? Like where you see him and it's like, oh, so that's how I felt. But he took me under his wing. Lou always treated me like fantastically, no matter the good with the bad. Right. I've always done in college, you know, you're a young man growing up, you know, we all make mistakes. But he was always there for me. His wife, Mary, was fantastic as well. Yeah. And to this day, I still talk to Mary Henson.
I, at the time, was a student journalist working at the student paper, and I covered Lou and got to know you a little bit playing too. And covering that team, I was just always waiting for like the real Lou Henson to come out. Like, he seemed so fake to me because he was always so nice to me. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm just waiting for it. It never happened. Nah. Like Lou till the very end was, taking my phone calls. I remember the Paul Weir coached Aggie team played in about an hour from his hometown in Oklahoma when they were in the NCAA tournament. Mm-hmm. And I remember I did a feature story on, the Aggies, first-year Aggie coach taking a team to the NCAA tournament. The last one that did that at that young age was Lou Henson way back when. And they played in Tulsa, I think it was, and it was about an hour from where he was born and grew up. And called him up and just talked to me like I was still a student journalist. Like, he was as nice, 20 years after school as he was when I met him.
Yep, that's how Lou was. I mean, and it's when I started coaching college basketball, he was one of my first phone calls.
Yeah.
And I just said, ask Lou, like, how do I handle certain situations? How do you handle certain kids, good or bad, relationship-wise? And he gave me some really good, I would say Lou knowledge, of course, to learn how to handle certain things. And he's just always there,
Lou do. I love Lou, man. Lou's as nice as the coaches I've come across through the years. There have been a few others that are pretty darn nice too, but nobody's nicer than what Lou was,
sure.
Certainly to me as a student journalist. It was there at New Mexico State where you and I got to know each other. You are, for those that watch our other podcasts that I've helped out on with James Yotis, our high school football podcast. You guys know that I'm an Alamogordo High School alum, and you lived in college with three guys I graduated high school with. Alfonso Cerna lives here in Albuquerque. Ryan McDermott has since passed away, but superstar athlete out of Alamogordo High School. He's a starting center, Big Derm, and he was also a second-round draft pick of the Cleveland Indians as a pitcher. And then Tim Englehart, still a friend of ours, good friend living in Texas now, 4-year starter for the Aggie football team. You lived with three Alamogordo guys, and one of the stories I love telling, and I told it recently, I spoke at one of ABC Prep's events, and I remember hearing Tim always talk about how late at night you would be playing Nelly all night, and you would be playing till 2, 3 in the morning, or whatever time you came home.
This is true.
And you'd be keeping him up, and he'd get up at 5 or 6 in the morning and go to school. Tim's obviously probably a little bit better student than we were, and he basically would wake up in the morning, and to get you back, he'd play country music all morning, and you guys would go back and forth. He'd be playing at 5 or 6 in the morning country music. You'd be playing country grammar at night till 2, 3, 4 in the morning. So
this is true.
That was the Alamogordo induction for you. You were the Chicago guy that was an honorary Alamo grad. So some of the stories we could tell would get me fired, so I'm not going to tell them on this podcast.
Please don't tell those.
But those college days were fun, man, and I know you still stay in touch with some of the Alamo guys better than I do, some of them. And
for sure,
always an honorary Alamogordo Tiger. From those college days, though, you post New Mexico State. You played professionally a little bit, including here in Albuquerque.
Yeah, so I had a chance to come here and play in at that time it was called the D League, but now it's the G League, to play for another legend, Michael Cooper, who's a champion at all levels. That was a great experience to be able to move to Albuquerque, play in front of Albuquerque fans, be cheered on by Lobo fans, which was a first for me.
Right.
But to develop those relationships here in Albuquerque and get to play a chance to play at that level with I was able to play with like Chuck Hayes, who got a 10-day contract and ended up leaving and playing in the NBA and having a fantastic career. CJ Miles played on our team because he was drafted out of high school that year. Tierre Brown, TJ Cummins, the list goes on. But that opportunity, it was also a good measuring stick because I always wanted to play in the NBA. And I realized at that point that I wasn't going to the NBA. That
wasn't going to happen. Some of your other teammates, Tony Bland was on that team, I think.
Tony Bland, and he was, he had a nickname. He was the rock star.
He was the rock star?
He was the rock star.
He liked Albuquerque?
He loved Albuquerque. To this day, I mean, I still talk to Tony Bland, and he's doing good. His kids are doing good. They're playing basketball and things like that. But he was another legend, basketball legend. So.
And it's days like that when you're starting to collect your, I'm telling you, and people that know this is true, you're starting to collect all these, you're networking, all these people, and you're collecting their numbers. You're walking Rolodex, and you know everybody, and you still stay in touch with people from that team. I know you still stay in touch with Coop, right? I mean, you talk with Michael Cooper all the time.
Yeah. What happened was I was watching one of those shows. I think it was called Showtime or something like that.
Yep.
And so Coop, they had a imitation of Coop or whoever he is, an actor. And so I called Coop and I was like, man, this dude looks just like you. So he starts laughing and we're talking about it. But I always stay in touch with Coop at least once a month just to see how he's doing. And he always answers and he laughs and lets me know when he's coming into town so we can hang out or something like that.
You played overseas a little bit too. I know, and you mentioned Russ Bradford earlier. He wrote a book. You played for his team in Ireland.
Yep, Paddy on the Hardwood.
That's right. I read the book. Yep.
Yeah, so it was fantastic. We actually, he gave me a call. He said, look, I want you to come to Ireland. You're going to be the least paid player in Ireland, and this is going to be the worst team in Ireland. And I was like, well, I'll take it. I'm working at Lorenzo's right now across the street from the Pan Am. So long story short, I was able to get MVP of the league. And he was coach of the year. We won the Irish National Championship.
Were you really the lowest paid on that team, on that league?
Oh, by far. by far.
But you were the MVP. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
You kind of start transitioning after your playing days into coaching. When I say this, it's not just a joke. It's like Mr. New Mexico basketball at this point. You have coached or been on staffs at UNM, obviously youth league or youth level, not just now but prior. But you've been on staffs at UNM. You played at New Mexico State. You've been on staff at New Mexico State. You've coached at New Mexico Highlands. You've also coached and been on staff at UNLV. But in New Mexico, you played professionally here. You played collegiately here. You've coached at both major schools and one of the D2s. You're Mr. New Mexico basketball, man.
You know what? I'll take that and run with it. I really appreciate it. But, I mean, there's been a lot of, positive things in the basketball community and a lot of other, legends and people that have done a fantastic job here. But I do take pride in saying, I was a part of championships for the Lobos. I was a part of championships for the Aggies, coaching and playing, and a championship with the Thunderbirds as well. So to be able to have those three levels at the major universities and pro teams here, I thought that was a good, something good to hang my hat on and continue to grow on. But that is the past for me, and I'm just focusing on trying to help kids now.
You, in your coaching, as you're kind of climbing the coaching tree a little bit, you had mentioned to me once, I think I did a story on you when you were working with Noodles, and I kind of asked what you got from working for Steve Alford, and then what you got from working for Craig Neal, and
you can call him Noodles.
I always call him Noodles. Sometimes I think people watch and don't know who that is, but they probably all know.
They probably do.
You kind of took something from every coach along the way and kind of tried to incorporate it, and everybody does that. I'm curious what you took from some of the coaches you've worked with through the years. What'd you get from Steve Alford and from Craig Neal?
So from Steve Alford, Steve was a perfectionist. He demanded perfection. He wanted everything to be perfect, whether it was film, whether it was the way the team came out dressed and looked, whether it was pregame meal, no matter what it was, he demanded perfection. And everybody respected him for that. And that's probably one of the main reasons why he won and he wins everywhere he goes. With Coach Neal, just his calm and collective when he's an assistant coach, and he was a technician and a genius when it came to offensive sets. And then in the crunch situations when everybody else would probably panic, he already knew what he was going to play, how they were going to defend it, what he was going to draw up, and he'll tell you who's going to score the ball and how we were going to score it. And I just thought that was amazing. And so I try to do that. I try to emulate that. Yeah. I have the playbook from back in the day, and I'm like, man, what would Noodles do in this situation?
Well, so that's the thing is, whatever people's opinion, after they've come through Albuquerque, I hear everybody talk about Noodles with the same thing, and the guy can draw stuff up on the board in a huddle like no other.
No other.
Offensively,
I mean, I can tell you, I forgot the exact game it was, but we were down. I think we were down one in the pit, and I think it might have been UNLV. We had been running a play where we would go up the middle, and then we would just, I think it was like a down screen, and we would hit middle for shot. So he had noticed, I don't want to take, I had no idea what was going on. Right. He had noticed that they were X switching on the backside. So we ran the same play for the game winner. And then Deshaun Delaney went backdoor from the corner because they X switched on the backside. They threw the lob for the dunk, and then we went up one and won the game. And I was just like, in my mind, I'm like, this dude's a genius, bro. Like, this is amazing. And I just wanted to learn how to watch film and analyze the game the way that he did. And so being a video guy, you're able to learn all that kind of stuff.
What'd you learn at stops like UNLV, stops at New Mexico State, and at New Mexico Highlands? What'd you take from those stops?
Yeah, well, definitely New Mexico State and UNLV. That was Marvin Menzies. Just the way that he handled the players and his attitude and his positive energy, and the way it was like a family, you know. And Coach Marvin Menzies is legendary in relationships and past and former players, and the way he treats them like young men, but he loves them, you know. And I've always taken that to have the same relationship with the current kids that I do coach. And then when I was at New Mexico Highlands with Craig Snow was a piece of, he had Noodles and Alford, you know, and he had himself, you know. So that's what makes him a great coach, because he's also a player that scored probably 1,500 points or more. So he was very confident. I love the way that he managed his staff, his players, the way that he could do X's and O's, the way he wanted to demand perfection. Like, I've almost followed Snow from the Danny Granger Hurricanes to UNM to Highlands back to New Mexico. So I love to follow what he's doing and see how he's achieving everything that he does. And now he's an associate head coach at Evansville.
And just to follow up on your connection with him, and we'll get to more of the ABC stuff here in just a couple minutes, but he's already recruiting some of your guys out at Evansville.
Yeah, he did. So we had a 6'10" kid from Idaho, Michael Day. I told him that I had a kid that I felt fit him, and like the style and the University of Evansville. And within, I'd say 3 days, they had an airline ticket. The head coach came out, watched him play, and then he said, Mace, he's exactly what you said he was. So they brought him out the next week on an official visit. The kid committed. And I mean, it's good to have those relationships to put a kid in position for some success. That kid had 0 offers before that opportunity, and now he's at Evansville right now, and they love him, and they said he's a hard worker and has a good motor, and he's going to 4 years of college basketball there.
You, through the years, too, obviously have made these relationships with players you were coaching or, on staff, so it wasn't just teammates. You're now making relationships with players through the years, including guys like Tony Snell, including guys like Cameron Barstow, and you started putting together in the off seasons these alumni all-star games. And tell me how that first one came about. I don't even remember the year. I really should have looked it up. But the first Lobo all-star game that you did in like June or July.
It might have been 2014.
Sounds about right. Yeah, because Noodles was coach.
Yep.
So 2014 summer of, and you bring everyone back, man.
So it was by accident. So what happened was Cameron Barstow was playing with the Chicago Bulls.
Yep.
And he calls me and he's like, hey, Mace, I need some help. I want to do a kids camp. He was like, but I can't get there. Like, can you, set everything up and get the kids and yada, 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 whatever. So we're putting this thing together. And I'm just like, hey, well, Cam, who's going to work this thing? And he was like, well, why don't you just get some of the guys or, you know everybody, go get some guys. So I called J.R. Giddens. I'm like, J.R., I know you're busy, but you want to work this camp? Cam's going to pay you. He was like, yeah, cool, I'll do it. Called Doris Gary, say, hey, man, why don't you come back and do this camp for – and it went on down the list. And the next thing you know, I'm looking at the names and I'm like, dude, we should have an all-star game or something like that. So then I called Cam and I'm like, Cam, why don't we do like an alumni all-star game, at the pit? And so he's like, dude, I'm in the NBA playoffs right now. I don't have time for that right now. He was like, look, you just figure it out. I'll fly everybody and we'll just get it going. He says, but you got it. I don't have time for that right now. And then the next thing you know, I called Danny Granger. I talked to Reuben Douglas, Drew Gordon. The list just started to grow, and everybody's like, man, I'd love to come back to UNM. I'd love to come back. And so next thing you know, we have over like 20 guys there, and it was I'd like to say star-studded event. Tony Snell was, at his prime and Cameron Barstow. And so the game was fantastic, had about 10,000 fans there. We had a ton of support from the community. Isleta Hotel and Casino, we all stayed there, and then we had a bunch of dinners and parties, of course, things like that. So it was a great event. You
do it again then the following year where you do a New Mexico State versus UNM alumni, and you got both sides. You're tapping into your NMSU days. And that one, too, I thought was about to start something, and I want to shout out to the guy long before you that was kind of putting these all-star games together years ago now, but Kelvin Scarborough. And you knew Scar, right?
Yes. So Scar used to take me under his wing. When I was playing pro basketball, I had a couple of injuries to where I couldn't play at the time. And so Scar would give me a call and he'd say, hey, Mace, what are you doing? I'm like, nothing. My ankle's bad or my knee, whatever it was at the time. And so he'd be like, don't worry about it. Let's go do some camps. Let's go do some alumni games. And I would be the only Aggie with all these Lobos. And we would go to reservations. We would travel around and we would do like either Aggie Lobo games or we would just do a Lobo alumni game and do dunk contests. And he would always tell me, he'd be like, man, I hope you're taking notes, because this is what I do. I'm helping you out. And he would give me money and take care of me. He just had a big heart, and that's who he was. But I actually stole every idea that I'm doing from Kelvin Scarborough, for sure.
You kind of parlay this accumulation of all these names and alumni and start putting together a TBT team. And now, originally, I remember when you guys were putting this together, you called it the Enchantment, and it was supposed to be an all New Mexico kind of all-encompassing team with with former Aggies, former Lobos on one team, but then it kind of split off into a UNM Lobo alumni team, and then you guys had the Panamaniacs, which is an NMSU team. This past year, you guys kind of combined them back together where it's all under one umbrella. How did the TBT, the basketball tournament, for those that don't know, $1 million winner-take-all summer tournament, and 64 teams basically come together and play this winner-take-all tournament. And you put together some teams that each year kind of progress and get a little bit further down the road. How did that come about?
Well, I think it was probably my last year with the Lobos. I think it was myself, Ryan Berryman. We were in practice one day, and maybe it was Alex Kirk. It was somebody that had reached out and was like, Mace, I'm surprised you're not putting together a TBT team. I'm like, dude, I'm coaching at the university. Like, I don't have time to do that right now. And then, of course, after I resigned and moved on that next year, that's when I was like, you know what? Now this is the time to get this going. And, of course, reaching out to the Darrington Hobsons, the J.R. Giddens, Jamal Smith at the time. We had Roman Martinez. We had a nice list of former Lobo basketball players that was good to compete. That first game, I think we broke the record for points scored and a half.
Yeah.
Like, I forgot we broke the record. And then it was embarrassing after that because we lost the lead and ended up losing it.
20 points, end of the third.
Thanks for reminding me.
No problem.
So after that, they liked our team. They liked the way we were organized. I won't take any credit for organizational skills when it comes to that stuff. Ryan Berryman is elite at that. But they wanted to move it to New Mexico. And when we had the shot to move it here, that's when things became real and all the players really wanted to come back now, because then we had the guys like the Elijah Browns and we had a bunch of other guys that was like, you know what, I'll come back and play in the pit any day, which we ended up having the 7th largest attendance in TBT history at the pit.
And as a startup, like just out of kind of nowhere, first time you guys did it. So, I mean, that's pretty big.
Well, that says something about the community as well, for the support to be able to come out and support something that's new that nobody really understood or knew about. But like now, after last year going to Texas Tech, making it to the Sweet 16, I like to say, so it's definitely skyrocketed and getting some attention and support.
Well, there is one local name on those teams that I'd be remiss if I didn't bring up, and it's not a former Lobo. He wasn't recruited by the Lobos or Aggies, and that's Scott Bamforth, who, for those that don't know, if you're watching or listening to this podcast, you probably follow hoops enough that you may know this name. Scott Bamforth may end up going down as one of the best New Mexico, he will go down as one of the best New Mexico basketball players ever. Didn't get recruited by the Lobos or Aggies.
Yeah, so Scott, and I don't know if you know, but Scott was originally on the first Enchantment team. Yes. He got hurt right before.
I remember that.
And wasn't able to go. And
Del Norte High, too, by the way.
Del Norte High School. Yep, exactly. And so he has a respect and has played at a level that everybody respects. Yeah. So when we were putting this team together, the first thing Alex Kirk and Darrington Hobson said, like, yo, you got to go get Scott Bamforth. Yep. And I've been friends with Scott for years. Doing the TBT has brought us closer. We have a mutual friend, Lamar Marinia, as well. And now Scott kids play for ABC as well when they come back into town. But
well, let's take that as the transition to what you're doing now. All of that is the background. You're playing, you're coaching, you're organizing days. And here we are now. You are... I don't even know what to call the organization, if it's Albuquerque Basketball Club, if it's ABC Prep. But Brandon Mason is we're going to call you the president of ABC Prep. Why don't you, I guess, just kind of, somebody who's never heard of it, has no idea what it is, give us the kind of Cliff Notes version of what ABC Prep is.
So ABC Prep is basically, we're NCAA certified school now. We started out doing it just for New Mexico kids. After our success the last 2 years, we've had a lot of inquiries and phone calls from out-of-state kids that want to move to Albuquerque for basketball scholarships. So, I mean, I know that sounds a little funny, but we have kids from...
It's happening, though.
It's happening. So right now we have Connecticut, 2 kids from Chicago, Australia, France, Ohio, Las Vegas. I mean, we have kids from everywhere that have moved here to get a chance to get an opportunity for a college basketball scholarship.
And when something new like this kind of starts up, I know there's some butting ahead sometimes. NMAA or some high school coaches may not like it. People unfamiliar in the community may not like it, that kind of stuff. But the reality is, if you look at the Lobo roster, for instance, about five of those guys all played at a prep school somewhere. I mean, this is happening around the country. It just hadn't been happening too much in New Mexico. So it's new. So there's some unfamiliarity with it. But the NCAA has certified it. You've now put in the last, 2 years, 15, I don't know, what's the number? How many kids have scholarships?
21.
21 kids in the last, 2 years?
2 years.
So in 2 years, 21 kids through your program, not just the ABC prep school, but
just the prep.
Oh, that's just the prep school.
Yeah, so it's not AAU.
So that's just the prep school. 21 kids have some piece of scholarship now, going to college, going through your program, and that doesn't happen in New Mexico all that often. It's kind of what you guys are doing now is giving them an outlet or maybe a more direct path to some of these college coaches, because you were that recruiter once, and now you got all these guys you met on the recruiting trail contacting you, and I'm curious how that's going. Like, you know these guys, and they're calling you, setting up appointments to come visit you and your kids.
It's actually it's cool, but it's also funny because when I call them, like, I'm known as a jokester or a funny guy or what have you. So when I call, it's like, hey, I got a kid for you. They're like, I know you do, Mace. Yeah. Like, whatever you need, I'm coming, and we go recruit your kids and yada yada yada. So it does give the kids an upper leg just because of the previous relationship, but the kids still have to do their job. They still have to work hard and perform. I do love providing a platform and teaching them how to market themselves on social media. A lot of stuff is social media driven. So just teaching them the aspect of how to carry themselves, how to what they need to do to produce, how to treat one another, how to behave on the road, how hard you need to play every single play. And, and I do have the speech with every last one of them. Just because you're coming to ABC Prep doesn't mean you're going Division I basketball. Right. So everything is earned and nothing is given. So I don't want to put a misconception out there that just because you're coming to ABC Prep, you're going to play Division I basketball or you're going to college for free. We have been fortunate and have a large turnover with our seniors, but I still don't put that out there as like it's a for sure 100% thing.
There are some players that I know someone with some Alamogordo connections and stuff that have kind of gone through your program that had no offers. You've mentioned some of that. The kid at Evansville who came from Idaho, but like some guys that they had no offers at all and spent a year with you guys and now are playing Division I. I mean, they're playing collegiately and that's not just through ABC Prep, but through some of your AAU programs too. How many teams total do you have that aren't part of the prep school?
We're at between 26 to 30.
Boys and girls?
Boys and girls. And we've also just started Little Dribblers K through second grade.
Okay.
So we're over 200 kids in our program.
One of them being a Patino. Jack Patino is one of the kids on your team, and I know Richard Patino told me just yesterday at a practice how much if Jack Patino could be there playing every day, he would be. And I know Patino, independent of that, regardless of his son playing, he's been one of the coaches that's come to visit some of your players. I mean, you have some recruitable players that are not just going to like low level or Division II or anything like that. I mean, these are some high major kids that you have coming through here. Can you name some of the programs that have been through the program, just, either contacted you or even in person in the last few weeks? Like, there have been some big ones, right?
Yeah. So just yesterday we had Colorado come by. We have every level to come by. So, I mean, we had Colorado, we've had Adams State, we've had Utah, we've had New Mexico, we've had New Mexico State. We have Division II, we have Northern New Mexico, New Mexico Highlands, Western New Mexico came yesterday. This is a good opportunity because if you think about it, this is September, October
now,
and we have kids. I mean, we have college coaches coming in to look at our kids this early in the game, and we haven't really played too many games yet. So to have these opportunities and coaches that come by and take notice of the talent that we do have here is definitely is positive for these kids.
I know you could rattle off 15 names right now. Let's keep it to just a few. Who are some of the highlights, though? Some people that, if you're following either high school basketball or ABC Prep or some of your AAU, level teams, who are some of the kids that are like the high level guys and girls that I mean, there's two of them that are top 100 recruits that are that are going through your program right now.
Yeah, so I mean, Jalen Holland is the first name that pops up. That he's 89th in the country, but he'll probably be top 50 pretty soon.
Past weekend, tell him about this past weekend.
Past weekend, he did participate with us on the grind session and played 3 games, and he averaged 30 points a game. And I mean, this is a high level of competition. This isn't just like an AAU event. So this is with a 24-second shot clock with replays and ball advancement. It's a pro basketball game. Yeah. And this kid who's a junior averaged 30 points a game.
A junior at Los Lunas High School.
And I mean, he loves his school. He loves being there, and he has a fantastic father. And they do a great job. And the kid works hard, and he's as humble as they come. And then, we have some other kids, Kenyon Aguino at Volcano Vista, Daniel Steverson. There's girls in our program. Bella Hines doesn't play with us right now, but she does. She's at our gym all the time, working out with Coach Jay Hill with Jay Hoops, and we see her all the time.
Yeah, she might as well play with you guys. She's there all the time. Man.
She is. I mean, she plays with us in the non like Nike sanctioned events, exactly. So, but I mean, she'll be top 20 in the country, and she's fantastic as well. And these are kids that are born and raised in New Mexico, and that are getting opportunities, that are at the highest level and being recruited by teams that have won or come in second place of the national championship. I like to throw that out there.
I know you do.
Okay, sorry. But with our prep side, we have. We have Christian Gilliland from Memphis, who averaged 29 a game at Memphis High School last year. He averaged 19 a game for us right now. Has a 47-inch vertical. He's a combo guard. New Mexico State is looking at him. Evansville is looking at him. Navy, Rice, a couple of schools like that, who's probably going to skyrocket here pretty soon. And we also have Johnny Pierce, who's 6'8", and he plays the 1 through 5. I know that sounds incredible, but he had a triple-double in our game against Chi Prep when we beat Chi Prep the other day. Being able to finish above the rim, block shots, rebound, and push point guard and get 12 assists in a game.
Let me wrap it up with this here. You're not only the kids that are coming through and getting their scholarship opportunities, but you've brought in so many former Lobos and former players, not just Lobos. Who are some of the guys that, again, people watching and listening are going to recognize some of the names that are working with you, coaching these kids, and not just coaching, doing a lot of life lesson stuff, some education stuff. Who are some of the former athletes that people would recognize?
Definitely, who's a Lobo legend, Darius Gary, who has moved here with his family and has done a phenomenal job. Has taken over with ABC, taken over ABC Prep. He's almost taken over my office. But he's doing a great job. He's working a lot of hours, and I'm proud of him. And he's doing a fantastic job. He has a daughter that's 6'1", that's 12 years old. That's incredible as well. We have Chris Perez, who's doing basketball coaching. He's doing academics. He's doing strength and conditioning. He keeps us organized, and he does a fantastic job. We have Jamal Washington, Darren Prentice, who's also there every day. David Quixote is working with our bigs, and he's coaching at ABC as well. Chad Adams has been coming every other day, and he's been working with our guys and coaching at ABC as well. So, having those Lobos and also just college basketball connections with all these guys coming here to help, it gives them something to look forward to, but our kids something to see with these guys that are playing at a high level.
Where are you guys located, and how can people kind of follow the teams and kind of just learn more about you guys?
We're located on 501 Main Street, right off of Mountain and Rio Grande. Anybody can always stop by and get a brochure or a card, or come in and see one of us there at any time and get some help or some training. But we're always on Facebook, Twitter,
social
and
media,
Instagram, all over the place. So we're excited on where this thing is going, and just.
Well, in case you don't know where it is, if you're in that area and you're kind of looking for it, it's the place that has a sign out front that says Brandon Mason parking. And he does have his own parking spot. And if you get inside and you're still a little confused about it, has a huge picture of Brandon up on the wall. And I just want to make sure everybody knows exactly where they're going in case they're a little confused. Brandon, I appreciate you for coming in, man.
So I want to talk about this Talking Grammar Cup right here. While you talking about my name everywhere, your name's everywhere, and I love this. Look at this, Talking Grammar. I don't have my own cup though.
That's right. You will now, though. You're going to go back and tell somebody on staff, hey, why didn't anybody get me cups?
I need a cup,
Mace, I appreciate you, man. I'm going to I'll probably be hitting you up again, too, and talking to you about some of your kids going through the program as the season progresses. But I appreciate you for coming in, man.
Yep. Thanks for having me. Much appreciated. Good to see you, brother.
All right. Well, hope you enjoyed that conversation with Brandon Mason. Obviously a guy who's had an awful lot to do with basketball around the state of New Mexico for the past couple decades now, since he played at New Mexico State, coached at a bunch of different places, played professionally here as well. So, and what he's doing now really is it's unique to this area, and I'm glad he came on the show and talked about it a little bit. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope you enjoyed this show, this episode, and all episodes of the Talking Grammar podcast, which is a part of the Albuquerque Journal Podcast Network. I also mentioned earlier the ticket giveaway and a digital subscription package. I know some people watching this aren't in the area and don't subscribe to the print edition of the Albuquerque Journal. Well, I hope you do that. If you can also subscribe digitally. And there is a new sports-specific digital subscription offer where you can get all the content on our website, and that includes the e-edition, a daily PDF print replica of the print edition you can get if you subscribe digitally to the Albuquerque Journal. And this subscription is available right now, abqjournal.com/subscribe/sports. That'll get you to the landing page for this special deal, which is $59.99 for a 1-year subscription. Comes out to a pretty good monthly rate for our digital package and all our digital content. We will also have a QR code on the banner ads for this episode that we run in the print edition of the Albuquerque Journal. So make sure you keep an eye out for that, and you can just get it with the QR, go directly to the landing page. But what we're also offering right now as part of this sports-specific digital subscription package, if you subscribe between now and October 14th, which is coming up this weekend, you will be put into a drawing for four winners. Will get a pair of season tickets to UNM Lobos basketball. If you subscribe through this deal on the Albuquerque Journal's website, 4 winners will get 2 season tickets to Lobos basketball. If you subscribe through this deal between October 15th and October 21st, 50 winners will get 2 tickets to the November 16th UT Arlington men's basketball game. 50 winners get 2 tickets to Lobo basketball, November 16th UT Arlington game. Or if you subscribe between October 22nd and October 31st, there is one winner who will get a 10-pack of tickets for a yet-to-be-determined game later in the season. And that's a whole lot of tickets to Lobo basketball. I know a lot of you watching this are doing so because you're Lobo basketball fans. A lot of the content obviously is Lobo basketball. So you can see the QR code in the print edition of the Albuquerque Journal. You can go directly to abqjournal.com/subscribe/sports and get this digital subscription offer. It helps us. Subscribe to the Journal, subscribe to local journalism, helps us with stuff like this, these shows, all the content we provide in print and online. Hope you're enjoying it. Hope you're enjoying all the stuff and the new push digitally that the Albuquerque Journal is really making a commitment to right now. So not just part of the Albuquerque Journal Podcast Network, but also Albuquerque Journal's website, abqjournal.com. Remember, read, hear, watch. And that's our commitment to you, the readers, and to the viewers of this show. And appreciate you for listening to this episode. Again, any feedback you have, let me know. You can get me on Twitter, or you can get me on X @JeffGrammer, or you can email me ggrammer@abqjournal.com. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.